sports fans, Jersey Joe here, and you've got another fine edition of The Brew. And you guys, you know who follow us on social media. You know Joel and I love to talk about baseball. In fact, Joel, wouldn't you say that baseball is the best sport?
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? The Hall of Fame votes are in for 2019 Hall of Fame. We put the question out on social media. What's your opinion? Did they get it right? Who do you think was right to get in? Who was wrong to get in? And then all kinds of comments you had to say about the players that made or didn't make it. We got that all coming up right here now on The Brew. Lots of comments to get to, lots of information to get to. Joel, let's go to you first. So, do you think the voters got the four players right? I'm talking Edgar Martinez for the Mariners. I'm talking about Mike Mussina for the Yankees or the Orioles. You know, Mariano Rivera for the Yankees. And then Roy Halladay going in with a black cap, rest in peace. So, do you think the voters got that one right?
All four of them. They were 4 for 4. They were correct. You have to look back on statistics specifically to know how great some of these guys were, especially if you didn't see them play. But yeah, all four of them match up. They're all Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah, though, you know, all four of those are on my list too. I thought it was totally done right. And a question I have for you though is, let's talk about Roy Halladay for a second. What cap? I mean, he's going to the black cap on obviously, but what cap do you think he would go in wearing? Because part of me thinks he would go in wearing a Blue Jays cap over his Phillies cap because that's where he found success first, and it seemed to mean a lot to him in his career.
I was gonna say if he was gonna pick one, I think he would probably pick that one too. I think he'd probably pick Blue Jays for the same reason. He spent a little bit more time there. That was where he was established. But then, I mean, he was great with the Phillies too, so it wasn't like it's some tail end of the career, horrible burnout. So I wouldn't be surprised either way. But I would, if I had to guess, I would think he would go Blue Jays.
I saw an interesting article online too that he met Mario Rivera early in his career, and Mo gave him a ball and gave him advice saying, you know what, make sure you do everything you can out in the field, you know. And anytime Halladay got down, he would like take Mo's ball and like throw it around and practice with it. So it's kind of cool that at the end of the day they ended up going in the hall together in the same class.
Yeah. And Halladay actually probably could have kept pitching. I'm not exactly sure why he stopped.
Well, one other debate that I saw online too was with Curt Schilling and Mike Mussina was a big issue because some people were saying that Mike Mussina shouldn't have got in, even though he had more wins than Curt Schilling. But when you add all their stats together, Curt Schilling might have been a better player. That was going back and forth, especially because if you look only a few years ago, Mussina only had 20% point something of the vote, and now he had I wrote down 76.7% of the vote he had now. So they were the debate was, should Schilling have gone in over Mussina? I say no. I think Schilling will end up getting in probably next year.
Not over Mussina, but they both should be in. And I know it's kind of a controversial sticking point because Curt Schilling went so far right-wing crazy, Breitbart, psychotic that the Red Sox wouldn't even invite him back to celebrate the World Series championship teams of the last couple of years. So a lot of people don't want to see him in the Hall. I think that's the sole reason why he's not being voted in because I actually specifically looked up everybody's stat line for the show, and Mike Mussina was 83 wins above replacement. Curt Schilling is about 79.5. Roy Halladay is sitting at 64. So you're talking about a guy that didn't quite bring as much value as Mussina, but took a whole lot more. And there's a bunch of Hall of Famers who were not as valuable in their careers as Curt Schilling. Who are in the Hall of Fame.
And then one debate we definitely have to talk about because the voting now is in the pretty much like right in the middle of the steroid era of sports. And it was different back then where so many players were doing it. And we got to talk about the whole Sosa and McGwire debate because McGwire obviously admitted that, yeah, he did the roids. Sosa did not, but he got nailed with the cork bat. Both of them were on the ballot this year. Neither one of them made it. And the question is, how long do you think it'll be until that passes and either one of them gets in? Do you think either one should get in?
I think they'll get in probably near the end because I think they're about halfway through the cycle or maybe a little bit past halfway. But I think they'll get in. I don't think they should. If you take Bonds last season where he hit, 73 home runs. He also set the walks record by far because if they had pitched to him as much as they had pitched to anybody else, he would have hit 150 home runs at least. He was just everything he threw down the plate was a home run. Now, that was way, way over the top, destroying records, way big time cheating. Like, inflated numbers exponentially, not just a little bit. And I know a lot of people will get upset about this because they'll be like, well, you know, before he started cheating, he was still on track to be a Hall of Famer. But the bottom line is we don't know when he started cheating, and the reason we don't know is his fault, not ours. So you have to hold that against them, especially because they're playing against other pitchers, batters in those era and taking away from those players.
Yeah, I think what's going to stop this debate with the steroids thing is when David Ortiz is due. Look, David Ortiz, Big Papi, me being a Yankees fan, I think the guy's been a pain in the ass. He's been a pain in the ass to the Yankees, but he is a good player at the end of the day. You know, he does have the numbers, but, you know, he's been busted with it too. So I think once he gets in, that's going to open the floodgates for everybody to use steroids to get in, and then we'll move past it, you know? That's what's keeping out, you know, I think that'll end the whole Sosa-McGuire debate. These guys will all go in. And even like Andy Pettitte, I think Andy Pettitte deserves to go in too, but sometimes I think the steroids will be holding him back too, even though he wasn't as bad as all these guys. So I think the floodgates are going to open once Big Papi gets in. He gets in, boom, they're all just going to go right in one after another. And the only debate that'll be left then is Pete Rose.
I don't think the Pete Rose one's going to be solved before he dies. So, yeah, you're probably right. It might be Ortiz. It might be some other player. Or they might just go, we have enough people that are young enough where they don't remember those era. All they can do is look at a sheet of paper and go, oh, well, it was probably good for the game.
Yeah.
And then they vote for him anyway.
Pete Rose is another one who shot his mouth off a lot, too, and got himself in trouble like Kurt Schilling, which pissed off the voters. You know, you got to learn, like, when people are going to vote you in for something later on, you know, you got to, like, you know, smooth them a little bit, be nice. You can't always just go crazy and shoot off their mouth. But the big point of the show we got to talk about is Mariano Rivera. Mo, first person to get unanimous votes. I absolutely think that was correct. That was absolutely well-deserved. And thank God that Boston reporter who shot his mouth off and tried to act important on social media and say, I'm not going to vote for him, did the right thing and voted Mo in. I think this was a perfect, correct thing to do all around.
Yeah, and so now here's the debate with older folks talking to younger baseball fans like myself, and Joe's kind of in the middle of us. But anyway,
thanks.
I got this whole, well, Mo should go in, but he shouldn't be 100% yes for induction. He shouldn't be the first unanimous pick. First of all, the Hall of Fame vote is a yes or no question. So it's, do you think he's a Hall of Famer? If you look at his wins above replacement, not to mention everything he's done in the postseason, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. You can look at it. So if the answer is yes, then it should be yes every year because we're voting 5 years after their careers are complete. Everything they did on the field is already done. So every vote should have been a unanimous. Every player that's in or out, every vote should have always been a unanimous yes or no. There shouldn't be degrees of it as if we're separating like, oh, you know, he was kind of good. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Famer 10 years after he retired instead of 5. It's ridiculous.
I mean, look, the guy definitely earned it. I mean, look, 13-time All-Star, 5-time World Series winner. I mean, those numbers definitely, that's Hall of Fame worthy. The one thing that I have to question, though, sometimes, this becomes more of a popularity contest a little bit, too, which is why I think the whole debate came in with, you know, with Mike Mussina and, you know, sometimes that's not the right way to do it. I agree with you. It should be a yes or no. And I got to say one more thing. I applaud that Boston reporter for doing the right thing because I don't like the Red Sox. I don't like Big Papi. But if I'm doing the voting and like in an important position like this, then I would do the right thing to keep the game, you know, in the spirit of the game and vote for him. And there's also, and like you said about, you know, is it 10 years later and how older baseball fans differ? Well, the game's changing too now. You know, pitchers don't pitch as long as they used to. You know, you have more stats. It's definitely a different game than it was even a decade ago.
Right, even 5 years ago. It's evolved more in the past just recently than I've ever seen or heard of it. And I'm sure that's true of a lot of older folks as well who've been able to see the game evolve.
Yeah. Well, a bunch of you guys wrote in about Mo, coincidentally, so let's take a few of your comments right now because Keith writes in and says, sure, I mean, he's as good as any other football player, right? Oh, Keith, you're funny. But when I asked about should Mo go in, Edie says, abso-freaking-lutely. Kyle says, damn it, who puts no first? Yes, because I put no first on the poll. But got me not reading the selection choices, my answer is absolutely yes. And then VGK702 writes in and says, whoever voted no, it's nuts. I don't think we will ever see as consistent closer as Mo was. This is coming from a Padres Hoffman fanboy. Nice. And then Brad writes in and says, he blows. And then here's one for debate. Brian writes in and says, maybe they're voting no because he doesn't deserve to be the first inductee and that others should have been unanimous before him. You know, I was kind of racking my brain on that one. Should there be somebody more unanimous before him? Maybe Babe Ruth? You know, if we're going to go back that far, but then it's...
Yeah, this just goes back to the thing I just answered last time. But yeah, basically, all of them should have been unanimously yes or no. So Babe Ruth, absolutely.
Yeah, but it didn't happen, but now it finally did happen. And then, I'm sure it's going to happen again. I think it'll be a little while because I can't name a player right now that I think off the top of my head that deserves unanimous. Well, Derek Jeter, maybe. But that's not going to happen because a lot of people hate Derek Jeter that aren't Yankee fans. But I think it's going to be a long time until we see another unanimous selection like that.
Yeah, it's considering it's never happened before. It might be a tradition just to keep somebody out, just to be a dick.
Oh, and lots of voters like to do that, like that guy from Boston, just because he was trying to become something on social media. Well, Darren the intern writes in, and he has a little bit of a story here. So he writes in saying, absolutely without question, if we're looking at the criteria for a Hall of Famer, he's got it all. All-time leader of saves, 4 rings, a postseason lifetime ERA of .80 best in history. Rose the occasion dominated with a pitch they all knew was coming, but still couldn't touch him, 100%. You'll never see a player like Mo again. His talent in the clutch is legendary. He's a champion, lowest postseason ERA, .81. Also, he dominated for 15 years with a pitch they all knew was coming. He was just so great that it didn't matter. Kind of invented the cutter. More importantly, aside from all the reasons he should be, I want to hear a reason why he shouldn't be in. Like, be a lawyer, defend your case of why Mo's not a Hall of Famer. No one can do it. It's ridiculous. This total should enter 100%. Mo is also a right model for the community and role model. That's what I mean. Don't ask me why he should. You tell me why he shouldn't. And I agree with you on that one. I actually want to know why you would vote against Mo. At the end of the day, nobody did, and that was the right thing to do. And you know what? The one thing, Mo's a big New Yorker here, too. He's not just a great player on the field, great mentor to other players. Does a ton of charitable stuff off the field, and he started doing it in an era when it was not for your image. The guy did it because he actually cared.
Yeah, he's a good dude. That popularity contest shouldn't go into the vote, though.
Yeah, so speaking of the poll, let's go to the poll results right now because that's what Darren was talking about. Does Mariano Rivera deserve to be the first unanimous Hall of Fame inductee? 79% of you said yes, absolutely. 21 of you said no. Now, we do know the poll has a 1-vote margin error because somebody voted wrong, but still 79 to 21, that doesn't equal 1 vote because you got a lot of votes on this poll. So a couple people didn't think that he should be unanimous. The poll didn't match up with what everybody else is saying, but at the end of the day, at least it was unanimous, and what's right is right.
Yeah, should have been 100.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing we also agree on is you click that like and subscribe button down below, so that's more fun on this web channel as always. And on Thursday, Kick It Back with Jersey Joe, I am answering questions YouTubers ask. I met a bunch of fellow YouTubers out in a forum on Facebook, and I asked them to ask me some questions. Well, they asked me both about YouTube, how I started this channel, what do I do for shows, but they also asked me a few other crazy things like, what's my favorite flavor of potato? Questions YouTubers ask Thursday on Kick It Back with Jersey Joe. And it's great to make connections like that. And, you and I, Joel, one thing we can say about social media is we made a ton of great connections over baseball, over sports. And that's one of the great things about the game and social media and the evolution of the game. So, hey, maybe someday they'll vote us into the Fan Hall of Fame.
It won't happen. Shout out to everybody we've hung out with, though.
Amen to that. So run a lot long on this show, but Jersey Joe here, I am saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, I hope.